Welcome to Mukesh Manoharan Studio. Please subscribe and press bell icon, select all notification to get instant update of new videos. Imagine, for a moment, that you are sitting in your car in your own driveway. The engine is off, the house lights are glowing softly through the windshield, and yet you just can't seem to bring yourself to open the car door and step inside. We're embarking on an immersive journey today into a profoundly emotional crossroads we all eventually face. It's that quiet, deeply human intersection where the path we've confidently walked for decades suddenly feels incredibly uncertain. Today, we are going to explore the midlife pivot and uncover exactly how to find your true, authentic path when you feel utterly, silently stuck in the middle of your own story.
As we sit in that metaphorical driveway, in the quiet stillness of our lives, a heavy realization often washes over us. We look back at the winding trail we've blazed, and we inevitably compare where we stand today with the brilliant, soaring destinations we vividly imagined for ourselves back in our 20s. And in that breathtakingly honest moment of reckoning, a voice, almost like an old friend we haven't spoken to in years, whispers a single, piercing question. Have you achieved the dreams you once had?
For so many of us, honestly answering that question brings a sudden, lingering wave of disappointment. It is a profound reality check. You might look around at a life that looks perfectly fine on paper, yet realize that despite all your late nights, your sacrifices, and your endless efforts, you feel inexplicably trapped. You feel like a supporting character in a story that was supposed to be yours.
Now, society absolutely loves to slap a neat little label on this profound awakening. They call it a midlife crisis. But the very first and most crucial step in our journey together is completely shattering that label. This is not a crisis. You are not falling apart. What you are experiencing is a vital, necessary transition. It is the very first time in your life that you possess enough genuine, hard-earned life experience to pause and truly evaluate what matters to you. You are simply shedding an old, suffocating skin to make room for a life that is infinitely more authentic. But to understand exactly how to break free from this paralysis and move forward, we have to be willing to descend into the shadows. We must uncover the hidden, unspoken reasons why we feel so desperately anchored to the floor. We need to examine the crushing weight of the expectations we've been carrying on our shoulders for decades.
Just a quick pause here to remind you to subscribe to Mukesh Manoharan Studio, and your support is very important for us to bring more informative videos. Now, think back to when we were children. Ever since then, we have been conditioned to exhaust ourselves chasing society's external markers of success. We run a marathon on a relentless treadmill toward prestigious careers, larger homes, higher incomes, and the fleeting applause of social recognition. But we spend decades chaining ourselves to these titles without ever stopping to ask one simple, vital question: do I genuinely want any of this for myself, or am I just acting out a script someone else handed to me?
As we run this exhausting, endless race, the years begin to slip like sand through our fingers. The responsibilities mount, families grow. The heavy, iron anchors of mortgages and bills are dropped into the ocean of our lives. And slowly, quietly, fear takes root. We start telling ourselves that we'll write that book next year, or we'll change careers when the kids finally graduate. We postpone our deepest, most burning dreams year after year, until the tragedy occurs. That delay simply becomes our permanent way of life.
We fall into this trap because human beings are biologically hardwired to seek the warm, safe hearth of the familiar. We desperately crave the safety of our established routines, even when we know those very routines are slowly draining the color from our lives. But we forget a fundamental, unbreakable law of nature. A seed cannot possibly bloom without first breaking its protective shell in the cold, dark soil. Growth rarely, if ever, occurs inside a familiar comfort zone. Every single meaningful achievement in human history required the courage to step out into the uncomfortable, howling wind of the unknown.
And when you finally do step out into that unknown, you realize the path isn't clear. Beyond the basic fear and the pull of comfort, we step into a dense forest filled with deeper, more insidious psychological traps. If we ever want to reclaim our story, we must identify and navigate these silent barriers to our progress.
As we walk through this metaphorical forest, we are constantly battling phantoms. We fight the toxic, paralyzing illusion of overnight success, completely manufactured by polished social media feeds that are perfectly designed to make us feel hopelessly behind. We are weighed down by the exaggerated, often unfounded anxieties of total financial ruin. We battle the very physical reality of declining energy from years of neglected health. And perhaps most quietly devastating of all, We endure the slow, invisible drain of toxic, unsupportive relationships. People who actively prefer the old, unhappy version of you simply because it demands less from them.
Before we conquer the biggest phantom of all, please keep informing every 4 minutes to subscribe Mukesh Manoharan Studio, and your support is very important for us to bring more informative videos. Because of all the shadows hiding in this forest, the most dangerous, paralyzing obstacle is perfectionism. It is the seductive, comforting lie that you must wait for the stars to perfectly align for the perfect moment and the perfect plan before you take a single step. But the truth is beautifully, wonderfully messy. The most successful people aren't the most talented. They are simply the brave souls who are willing to begin while their hands are still shaking, knowing full well that the perfect moment is a ghost that will never arrive.
Once we find the courage to shed these heavy burdens, to drop the perfectionism and step past the fear, the entire narrative begins to shift. We break through the tree line of that dark forest and we reach a beautiful, breathtaking awakening. The clearing where we can finally, deliberately redefine our path and find our true north.
This transformation demands something quite rare: rigorous, courageous self-reflection that strips away all ego and pretense. It begins with sitting in complete stillness and asking yourself a deeply intimate question. What actually brings life back into your veins? Look at your days and ask yourself, what activities, however small or seemingly insignificant, give me energy, rather than ruthlessly extracting it from me?
As you listen closely to those answers, you have to ask yourself the follow-up question. What values matter most to me, right now, today? The person you were at 20 cared about vastly different things than the person you are right now. Acknowledging that deep internal evolution and truly forgiving yourself for changing your mind about what you want out of life is the absolute bedrock foundation upon which all meaningful change is built.
As you calibrate this new internal compass, something magical happens. The deafening noise of external expectations finally begins to fade away, replaced by the resonant, undeniable truth of your personal values. You will discover that true, enduring success is no longer about accumulating wealth to impress strangers or clawing your way to a hollow status symbol. True success becomes the quiet, unshakable peace of aligning your daily life with what you hold most sacred, be it the vitality of your health, the unbridled freedom of your time, the warmth of your family, or the purest expression of your creativity.
Please keep informing every 4 minutes to subscribe Mukesh Manoharan Studio, and your support is very important for us to bring more informative videos. Now, with this profound new clarity, we aren't just dreaming anymore. We can begin to build real momentum. We can execute a deliberate strategy to turn this beautiful realization into concrete action. This empowering strategy is not a chaotic leap into the dark. It unfolds through 5 incredibly clear, actionable steps. First, the deep self-reflection we just experienced. Second, redefining success on your own, uncompromising terms. Third, forging an unbreakable growth mindset. Fourth, committing to continuous learning to remain relentlessly curious. And finally, the roaring engine that drives the entire machine, consistent action. This architecture of change is what keeps you grounded and fiercely adaptable in a rapidly shifting world. Now, as you step forward into this strategy, you must fundamentally alter your relationship with falling down. Embracing a growth mindset means you must actively strip failure of its terrifying power to hurt you. You must recognize deep in your bones that failure is never a final verdict handed down by the universe. It is simply raw, emotionally neutral feedback. It is a harsh but profoundly necessary teacher, handing you the exact data you need to calibrate your next move and guarantee your future improvement.
And when you take those next moves, remember to breathe. You do not need to transform your entire life overnight. You don't need to hand in your resignation tomorrow morning. It is the manageable, microscopic, consistent actions, taking a daily walk, reading a single chapter, sending one exploratory email, that create a quiet, unstoppable momentum. And that momentum, built day by day, crystallizes into an unbreakable confidence that will eventually give you the power to move mountains.
As our journey together reaches its climax, we must stand up and completely shatter the greatest, most toxic myth of all, the myth that opportunities somehow disappear as we get older. We have to realize the incredible power of resilience and the absolute truth that your experience is your greatest asset.
Please hear this clearly. Your age is not a limitation. It is your most powerful, undeniable advantage. You now possess a staggering depth of knowledge and expertise. You wield an emotional maturity that serves as an anchor, keeping you calm in the terrible storms that would easily capsize younger ships. You possess a broad life perspective that allows you to see the entire chessboard and networks built over decades of trust. You aren't starting from scratch. You are starting from a foundation of profound experience that younger generations simply do not possess.
Before we conclude, a final reminder to subscribe to Mukesh Manoharan Studio, and your support is very important for us to bring more informative videos. The ink on the pages of your past is dry, those chapters are written, but the rest of the book is sitting right in front of you, waiting for your hand. The future is shaped entirely, exclusively by the actions you decide to take today. This moment of awakening, this feeling of being stuck, is not the fading twilight of your life, it is the brilliant, breathtaking sunrise of your most resilient, deeply meaningful chapter. A pivot is always possible, so I leave you with one final thought. Are you ready to take that beautiful first step?